Do you hear me okay? Yes? Okay, thank you. So let's begin. Oh, so it's going to be complicated. It's going to be run here, and on my screen here. So I will start with introducing me, my background, and then how I came across African games, because it doesn't happen every day to everybody. And I will make an overview of the African market as well. So you can have an idea of why it's interesting to look after or to look for African games and to actually play them as well. And I will finish by some hidden treasures from Africa because they are really, really good games and it's just a start. Okay, so as for my background, I had the luck to work for a lot of great companies, let's say, from the video game industry, but also from other industries like Black & Decker, if you like power tools. But the main one, as on the publisher side, were Activision, Capcom, and Wargaming. So those big companies allow me to work my marketing skills in different ways. At Activision, I was a project coordinator working on packagings to ship the games into European countries. Same at Capcom, but I was head of the marketing services. And it was a Japanese company, so other ways to work. And I was also looking after merchandising, goodies, all the stuff we all like here. And then I moved on to wargaming, of course, sorry, I forgot. So I moved into mobile games, from package games to digital, another challenge, which was great. So I looked after the European market, more on the marketing strategy side. And then, well, I had an accident, so I had to leave the market for like 2 to 3 years. And I was picked up by an African guy. I will tell you about him later on, to look after the African video game market. So afterwards, what else? Well, I worked also in media industry, cosmetic and other stuff. And then I moved on to also indie games studios from Europe. So I looked after their marketing strategies. And yeah, I think that's enough, I guess, for my background. The great licenses I worked on, especially at Activision and Capcom, so Call of Duty. Someone mentioned it this morning in one of the talks. Street Fighter, of course, Shrek, Spider-Man. One of my favorites is Ace Attorney. If you don't know that game, it's great. And then all the DreamWorks licenses. Monkey Island, if you are a real gamer. So my expertise, basically, it's about all of those things. So I will mention branding, strategic marketing, packaging, merchandising goodies, media advertising, product management, Web3, GameFi, for those who know Web3. I know it's like a bit of a forbidden word here. Partnership, events, do lots of events as well as organizer. Yeah, I think community management. I'm not a specialist, but I had the chance to work on all of those fields. So how I came to work around African video games. I mentioned earlier a guy, but I didn't say his name. So it's Sidik Bakayoko. One day he contacted me on LinkedIn saying that he would like to meet me to help him to get African games known in Europe. And like everyone, probably, I was like, there are video games in Africa. I mean, there are studios. And of course, I was sensitive to his proposition because I have also a background as an Afro-descendant. And so I of course, would love to see African games. So I said, okay, let's meet up. He came to France. He lives in Abidjan. We met, and 2 months later, we were at Gamescom and DevCom to promote African games. Why? Basically, I said it's an ambition, a meeting, and a strategy. What we wanted to do is to, of course, promote the talents behind the games, because no one knew that there were developers in Africa in 2018, I should say. And also to educate the industry and the consumers. Like the industry, I mean, my peers, like they didn't have a clue of what is video game in Africa. They basically thought as well that we don't play video game in Africa, which is of course a nonsense, because they play video games for like ages, but of course they don't have the same, let's say, access to the video games, to the consoles. So most of the time you have someone who goes to France and come back with all the consoles and then open a sort of a place where people can play games. Okay? So I just want to say a little bit more about what does Siddiq Bakayoko with Paradise Game, because that's the structure I worked for to promote African games. Paradise Game is a company which has the ambition to get the video games industry larger in Africa, first West Africa, but in Africa as a goal. And they do that in many ways. So they have like a TV show, an African TV show, and not some shows that are imported from France, for instance, because Abidjan is a French-speaking country, so they do have some of the programs we have in France, but they created their own show with their own content, with their own presenters, and so on. And it's still on. And it's on a RTL2 channel, if I remember. They also created the biggest event, esports and video game event in Western Africa. And it's probably the biggest also in Africa. I'm not sure about that one. But it's been 7 years. This year it's going to be the 7th. And I also helped on working on the 2nd edition of that event. And it was a first. And it's a success because in Africa, as I said, we love video games, but also we play games as an esport, on esport side. But I won't talk much about esport today. There was also meant to have a website where people, Africans could gather and play together. This is a project that is still on the side. It hasn't been launched. And there is also a place, like a 1,000 meter square place where Africans can actually play video games as esport gamers or as just casual gamers. It's called the Paradise Game. Oops, I forgot the name. Maybe it's written on my... Hey, sorry about that. The Paradise Game Center. So that's where you can have fun, basically. And there are also some EdTech sessions, so people can also come to learn skills on how to build a video game, how to develop. And of course, the Africa Corner, which is more what I will talk about a little bit as well later, which is a platform, let's say, or branding, that I put up with Siddiq to promote the African indie games. So how we did that? We started from scratch. We had to create a branding and then also to create our documents like, visit cards, kakemonos and booths as well, because we wanted to be visible. And for that, we selected some of the events that we thought were the best. And so DevCom is one of them. Gamescom was too expensive and difficult, but DevCom, we could allow 5 studios to come from Africa to Germany and to present their games and to talk about their work and to make, of course, some good networking for the future of their games. The booth it was for this event, but also for Paris Games Week, and also for Game Connection in 2018 and in 2019. We will see that later. So I chose to have a minimalist communication because, as I said, it was just 2 months after I met Siddiq. So imagine the work we had to do, and I was not even completely revived from my accident. So it was quite challenging, but I loved working on that project. So we created some visuals, brochures as well to promote African games and PR releases. So you should be able to find them on the web. So this is the brochure. There were 5 games, as I said. So the countries, there were Kenya, Algeria, Central Africa. There was also, I can't see well here. I cannot remember, so sorry. Madagascar. And, no, you can see better? Okay, well, the last one, sorry for it. Kenya. It was Kenya. Maybe I should put my slides here as well. It's difficult to manage both. Well, I told you a little bit about African game studios at DevCom. So, oops, to go back. Yes, so that's the picture, just as proof, we were there. So the first one is at DevCom, and the second one is at Game Connection in Paris in 2018. So we had quite a nice booth. The second year, that's the one at Paris Games Week. It was only like 24 meters square, very small. But it's important because you will see afterwards the session on 2019. So here we basically had the privilege to get some great guests in the booth, So you recognize perhaps a lot of those people. We had Muriel Tramis, who just received her Legion of Honor for her work. And we had the Embassy of Algeria. And we had also the Embassy of Kenya. The ambassador, sorry, I should say. And you recognize the guy on the very left side, but sorry, I forgot his name. Stress. And of course, the voice actor you may all know at the middle. Oh, you won't help me today. No, okay, so I have to, well, when I'm stressed, I forget about names, and over than that, I rename people, so I prefer not to. It's filmed. Oh yeah, and we had a singer as well, but I can't remember his name. So sorry. Olivier Morin, I remember. You may know Olivier Morin. He used to do a show on Canal+ about e-sport and gaming. So, and Siddiq Bakayoko is next to me as well. So in 2019, that was just a much bigger booth. We had like 104 meter square booth. So we had 12 studios, and it was really, really interesting to have those. And they came from 8 different countries. So we doubled the number of countries, nearly, and also nearly tripled the number of studios. I will let you have a look at a video that encompasses all the games that were presented in those events. So it should work. Oh, no sound? So that was in 2018 and 2019. So it's quite a while ago, actually. Now it's been nearly 5 years. And some of the studios are still working on new games. Some of them have unfortunately left the market for now because it was difficult for them to find fundings. The countries of the games, so you had Togo, you had Kenya, you had you saw them, right? Madagascar and so on. They struggled to find funding, but we will see that later anyway. You can see that the variety of games, basically, they like to put a lot of the environment they live in. Sorry. They also like to talk about subjects that are really close to the population they live around. Some of them we will see later. And what can I say else? Yeah, there are different type of games, a manga type game, runner game, platform games, anything. They like games as we do in Europe, but I guess the difference is more the approach of how they encompass the characters into their game and the spiritual behind, because the African spirituality is a bit different, I think, from Europe and Japan. I wouldn't explain now, but it's I thought it is a bit different. This second video is more to introduce you to the talents behind, because it's not just about gaming, it's also about who are creating those games. So I'd like to introduce you to them here.
Salut, je suis Herman Kodjo Asevi, promoteur de Dascosa. Je présente le jeu vidéo Zémidjan, je viens du Bénin. Voici mon équipe.
Hi, we are the team of Digital Cultural Experience. We are based in Tunisia and we are the conceptors of Carthage VR. See you in Paris! See you!
Hi, we are Falling Up Studios, and this is our game, Precious Cargo.
Hi, my name is Setri. I work at Great Power Studios based in Ghana, working on Mancala Plus, CEO of Paris Games.
Letty Arts is a video game development company that is using storytelling to change the African narrative.
Moi c'est Ali Mérez, je suis cofondateur du studio de développement Livin Interactif.
Donc moi c'est Léger Fall, je suis directeur artistique et aussi je participe au game design.
Salut, c'est Michel Pinja de notre Game Studio. Je demande nos promotions au jeu à Warriors. Je vous donne rendez-vous à Paris.
Vraiment, Awat Mousbeh, fondatrice de Tofoula Kids. Tofoula Kids, c'est une application mobile éditeur de contenu de صغيرات ما بين 4 ل 12 سنة.
Yeah, I had to cut a lot of the videos, unfortunately, to make it a bit short, but at least you have faces to see who are behind the games. And it was great working with those guys, and some of them, I met them like a month ago at Creative Africa, who happened to be in Paris at La Gaieté Lyrique. And they continue creating games, and they have even they are even opening offices in France to help, you know, to get more funds. So that's great. I'll continue on the people we could meet at at Paris Games Week in 2019. So we had some political people as well. We had, and non-political, but to me, someone very important, Prince Gezo, Serge, who unfortunately died last year, but he was a supporter of anything creative, including video games, although he didn't, of course, play much. But he was really behind the young people to promote the cultural heritage they have in Benin, because he's a royal family from Benin. And we also had Emmanuel Martin, who used to be the person behind Paris Games Week. Voilà. And other people. So I'll now go into more the figures side. So if you don't know Africa, I'll try to summarize a little bit what we could say should help you to have an understanding, of this market. In 2016, at the time, I had a presentation before, and this graphic, I kept it because I think it's still relevant, but of course, the figures have probably went up. But in 2016, 50% of the 1 billion African smartphone users were under 25 years old. It should be roughly the case still today, but that gives you the amount of players, at least that the continent has and can have. And there's an estimation from GSMA that says that by 2030, 87% of the population in sub-Saharan Africa will own a smartphone. So it's going to be quite a lot. And actually, yeah, they do play a lot on smartphone, but we will see that later. Yeah, so that's here. The market is mostly mobile phone gaming rather than console and PC because, as I mentioned earlier, the distribution channels are not developed the same way than we have in Europe. So they can't really go anywhere and get a console easily. They have usually to go to the closest European country to buy them and then to get them back in Africa, wherever they live. So the smartphone is the easiest way to access games. What's interesting also to know is that they have payment methods that are quite different from Europe. The bankerization is not the same. So they don't use the credit card as we do much, but they do use still the mobile. And so we have over there mobile payments. And basically most of the time they get the mobile games on the platforms that the mobile carrier open. So let's say Orange has a platform, and from their, let's say, rental line, they will get access to the games. But still, some people are playing on consoles and on PC as well. And some studios actually are now developing PC games because they just don't want to reach only African gamers, or they also want to reach European, Occidental gamers, and maybe Asian gamers too. Here, in 2023, video games generated $1.92 billion USD, in revenues, and it's expecting to reach like 3.33 billion in 2038. So it's a market that is just in its infancy, and it's going to increase very, very fast. And exponentially, I think. And that's normal because we know in Europe we are a continent that is getting older. But as I said earlier, in Africa, they are very young. And there will be the force behind the creativity, behind the production of games, and there will be as much as consumers as creators. So it's most likely that maybe in 5-10 years, we will play African video games. It's just a guess, I don't know. But for sure, that will be part of the landscape even more. Among various segments in video games market, mobile, as you could guess earlier, dominates with a volume of 2004 million. That was this year. As I said, there are other ways to access games, but mobile is definitely the best and the easiest for them for now. The number of gamers in sub-Saharan Africa in 2021 was a solid, apparently, 186 million players. I don't know what is the figure today. I couldn't find any update on that one, but I wouldn't be able to guess, but I'm pretty sure it's way more now, especially because esport has also increased, and esport is a real big vector of playing games. For some reason, they love watching it, but they also love playing it. Here, on the chart, you can see that Africa is mixed with the Middle East, so the figures are gathered. I couldn't find proper figures. I mean, I should have paid for the datas. I couldn't. So that's only what I could get you. And that was in 2022. We are in end of 2023, so I'm pretty sure that has increased a lot, especially that also Middle East is increasing its budget and its investments on video games creators, also on esports as well. So I can't guess, but it will be definitely more. So South Africa apparently had 24 million gamers like in 2021. Same thing, I think it has increased way more, especially that South Africa is one of the most dynamic countries in the continent to create games. They have quite some, let's say, they have some help and they have more, they have schools, they have trainings, they have ways to learn how to create a game and quickly and with more materials and tools. So that's also why it's more easy over there. I would like to mention Gara because unfortunately Teddy Kosoko is not here, but he was in the pictures. If someone knows him, maybe you have spotted him in the pictures. He was one of the first African developers representing Central Africa. And he's also the creator of Gara, which is the very, very first distribution platform for African content, be it video games, but also comic books, literature, and anything that is considered as content that African people could buy directly from African to an African. Because now it's difficult for African people to actually get their content on Android and Apple stores. There are many different conditions that they can't, unfortunately, apply for. And so they don't know how really to get their games played by their peers or the European or Occidental countries, So Gara is solving this problem because that has been launched a few months ago. I didn't know, to be frank, those 5 biggest companies. Really, I had never seen them or heard of them before when I searched, but they are apparently, according to it's not the right, I think it's not the right, the source is Mordor Intelligence, not the cabinet PwC, sorry. But they apparently are the 5 biggest studios in Africa. I haven't checked their games, but that I will, definitely. I didn't have time, unfortunately. What I can say, though, is that a lot of smaller studios are popping up. You could see that in my presentation earlier since 2018, but you will see even more later. So the African ecosystem, is organized by regions. So, sorry, I went too far, but okay. The first one is the Union of the Great Maghreb, so the northern side of Africa. They have less difficulties to develop games because first they are closer to Europe, and so they can beneficiate from the training more easily. They also speak the language, the French language, so it helps as well. And there are facilities in between countries, which helps, which is not the same for other parts of Africa. The East African community is very active, especially Kenya is really, really active. It's one of the main countries that create games in Africa. You have as well the Central African Economic and Monetary Community. That's how they call them. So it's perhaps the one that has maybe the less games, to my knowledge. Maybe that's wrong because it's difficult to actually find those studios. Not everyone write about them. But I know that in Congo, there are plenty of young people who are interested in making games and they learn how to do that, for instance. In the western part of Europe, so the Economic Community of West African states, they are close to France because they have the languages. I'm thinking of course, Benin, Togo, Ivory Coast, Senegal, Mali. So they have the language, but the access to tools, to hardware and software, actually, yes, is not as easy as in the north of France. The north of Africa region. So they are like on the system D. They get whatever they can and they create, and they do it whether they have the tools or not. They try. It's like they want to make it. They find a way to make it. And then the southern side of Africa. So it's like the most probably developed in terms of gaming, but we will see more later. And South Africa being the first one. This is an overview, actually, of that gaming ecosystem. That's a summary of it. So you can see that around 1/3 of the continent shows the presence of any market related to Africa, to Dido games, sorry. Be it esport, or be it development, or be it just gamers, associations, or even fundings. But as I said, fundings is quite rare. Like here, you can have a better overview of the training and the ecosystem of education around gaming. So they are coming, a lot of them now are coming into the western part of Africa. Like a few years back, there were not that many. There were just perhaps some places like Seme City in Benin. But now Senegal, for instance, is opening an incubator, like as we speak, and it's actually Teddy Kosoko who is doing that. So a lot of things are happening now. So that's why I say maybe in 5-10 years, we will be playing games from Africa, coming from Africa. Madagascar is also one place now that is making training to know how to create games, and it's supported by someone very famous in France, who is called Orelsan. His wife is actually from Madagascar, and they are also implicated in the video game sector. He released a game a while ago, and they want to make something interesting for the youth. So they are creating a new sort of, not a university, but a place where they can learn. I probably put the name on the, it's Oni Academy. So it's called Oni Academy. And that's great that those things are happening. In Djibouti, I'm looking after an event currently that is supposed to happen next year. And Djibouti is a place where you have all the Wi-Fi and high-speed cable access with internet. They have great, let's say, infrastructures, but they have no training so far for video games. And the event is to get Djiboutian to learn more about that. We are in talk with the university there to integrate some programs, and we are in talk with some of the leading engines, let's say, to also help us on that project. What else? Yeah, Tunisia, of course, 3D Net Info is very prominent. They are probably the first one who had created proper schools to learn how to create video games. So that's why in Tunisia you have lots of companies that actually are working for bigger companies in Europe, but based there. Actually, even Ubisoft used to have one of their studios based here, working on Assassin's Creed a while ago. So here it's the ecosystem of the indie studios, and you can see that there are like more than, like, let's say nearly 50 studios that we could count in about 20 countries. So that's just a start. And some of them, like Tunisia I mentioned earlier, you can see there are lots of, well, lots. We can count more indie studios there. Now I'm gonna go 4 minutes. Woof, that's gonna be difficult. Okay, so, oh really? It's not gonna be enough. Thank you. I'll pass on the videos. If they are too long, I will cut them so we can go. So I stop here the video, sorry, just because I will have to get fast. But this is the very, very first game that was released and coming from Africa, and it's from Cameroon. They took 10 years to make the game because they lost many times their work because of shortage, electricity shortage or breakage. And the sun, of course, is also not an enemy, but let's say when it's very hot, the machines can't keep up. So they have conditions as well that are not helping, and they can't necessarily have the latest technology. But this was the very first game in 2016, and this company, as you will see, has done way more games, and they also have a comic book that has been released. A real African success story. So here another game from the same company.
Welcome to Mboa City, the African city where everyone can become an elite. Stroll through this hilarious world in a top-down 2D view. Move by simply touching the screen. Control your camera and keep an eye on the hilarious character around you. Don't worry, the camera will always come back to you. Work and earn money. Take care of civilians through mini puzzle. Deal with very serious file at the General Ministry.
I will have to pass, but you should watch that one because it's also a caricature of the governments in Africa. So really, have a look. This one is just a puzzle game, normal one, but it's part of the branding we saw earlier.
Very thrilling. A ton of replayable levels.
Yeah, that's the humor is different, so of course, you know, that's what it brings as well. Bon, orange, évidemment. Here it's a game that was created or released in 2017. You will see the technology is not the latest as well, and it's a Beninese studio, and it's taken from a story that has been written, The Stubborn Girl, it's called, but the game, The Little Treat. I have to leave the videos to where we can see more and more, but I have unfortunately to stop it. Red Raketa is one of the Malgashi studio, and they actually are going to be online, live on Twitch later with me. So I just give you a little hint and then I pass on. Two co-founders, and they are women co-founders. Well, as you can see, it's quite beautiful and it's just being in production currently. Lome, you've seen it a little bit on the videos I had before. They released the game in 2019. I found that one very interesting because it's a kind of a serious game, as well as it could be like to me, nearly like a AAA games like. But they tell a story that actually is very, very problematic in the region of Madagascar, the Dahalo phenomenon. It was meant to be sold in Europe, I mean for European and Occidental countries, rather than for Africans. So you can see there's some quite good quality there. I will have to pass, unfortunately, but maybe I can go back later. This one is some Legends of Orichas, apparently a game that is quite well expected. It comes from Nigeria, and it's all about the deities of the Western African territories, which are Nigerian, Benin, and so on.
On nights like these, He deforms my dreams for his own delight.
So that's where the spirituality is going to be, you know, demonstrated in that kind of games.
Or what he calls my destiny.
It's violent. I have to pass on. Malanga Studio is one guy, one developer. I coached him because he won a prize with Chimolongung, and I was one of his coach in marketing. And so he develops games alone. So that's one of his games. So a warrior must travel to the realm of the gods in search of a special herb that can cure his wife from a fatal illness. Bon, sorry. Malio Games. Yeah, 3 minutes? Okay, thank you. Oops. So this one, oh, I can't go back. Yeah. No, bon. Tant pis. Malanga is, oh, it doesn't work, I think. No. Okay. Back again. Okay. No. Okay, it doesn't. So that we saw. Okay. So this is quite different. You will see the art is completely different. And it's another ambience as well. You have to explore the futuristic Africa through the eyes of a night mechanic. But it's a single-player game. Some say that it's quite meditative because of the music that's inside. So the people who play that, they feel it like this. I can see some people are dancing. Nearly. Okay, I have to pass. So this one is, I think, gonna be long, so I have to, yeah, I will have to cut this one. But I give you just an overview really quickly. And it's the creator that I looked after who made this one. Well, I think we won't see much, so I have to cut. Oops, this one shouldn't be showing here, but it is. Well, because I have no text, so it wasn't supposed to be here. It was a hidden slide. Bon. I mean, it's still interesting, right? Okay. Oh, this one, but it's more classic, let's say. We know that kind of games, and it's for kids. From Letty Art Studio. So the music, of course, it's African. You know, that's what changes a lot as well from the Occidental games. Bon. I have to pass. I think there was something nice after, but... Okay. Sorry, I have to pass on this one. Okay. Tant pis.
Unfortunately, we have to stop here.
Okay.
I think what we've seen match with Jürg's recommendation this morning, intent is king. And just maybe 1 minute for one question.
Sure, of course.
Are African gamers proud of African games. Do they play African games?
Yes, and they want to play African games, but it's difficult, as I said earlier, to access those games. So that's why the developers, they turn to Occidental countries because they know that's where the money is first, and it's easier to reach them than to reach their peers. Yeah, there's a lot of education to do in Africa among the politics to accept games as a cultural thing, and more than that, like a proper career path for a lot of young people. So that's also the difficulty that most of the studios have to encompass. I think there was a slide missing, but you should have seen a little bit where the budget was located, and there are not many countries in Africa that actually allow help on development in Africa.
Okay, thank you. Since it's already 3:30, we have to stop here. But congratulations for your work and for what you show to us.
Thank you. I hope you liked it. Thank you.